Researchers tracked 5,000 women across 8 years and found that those in the weakest grip quintile, below 16 kilograms of force, faced a survival curve that diverged sharply from those above 27. The test takes 10 seconds, and the number you hit today reflects biological aging in ways a routine physical often misses entirely. Researchers at the University at Buffalo tracked more than 5,000 women between the ages of 63 and 99 for 8 years, measuring one deceptively simple thing: how hard they could squeeze. What they found rewrote what most doctors use to assess how well someone is aging. Your hand is not just a hand. It is a live readout of what is happening deep inside your muscles, your cardiovascular system, and your biological clock. Stay with this video, because by the end you will know your number, what it means, and exactly what moves it in the right direction. Here is the test. Find a household jar, a pasta sauce jar, a pickle jar, anything with a screw lid. Squeeze it as hard as you can and try to open it without bracing it against your body. Notice how it feels: effortless, strained, or impossible. That 10 seconds of effort just gave you more information about your biological age than most annual physicals do. The standard clinical measure is called hand grip dynamometry. Doctors use a calibrated device and read a number in kilograms. The jar test maps almost perfectly onto the same underlying signal. Clinicians use a threshold. Below 27 kilograms of force for men and below 16 kilograms for women is where the alarm starts sounding. If that jar barely moved, you are likely in the zone that research flags as worth paying attention to. But here's what most people don't know: the number itself is only half the story. What the new JAMA data revealed about why grip tracks so closely with how well we age is something far stranger. The University at Buffalo study published in JAMA Network Open in February 2026 is unlike most grip strength research before it. Earlier studies had a serious flaw. They could not rule out that stronger people simply moved more and had healthier hearts, making grip look predictive when it was really just a proxy for activity. This team solved that by equipping all 5,000-plus women with accelerometers worn for 7 full days at enrollment, capturing objective, minute-by-minute movement data. Then they tracked survival over 8 years. The result, researchers observed that women in the strongest grip group showed markedly higher 8-year survival rates than women in the weakest group, and that gap held even after controlling for how active they were, how aerobically fit they were, how much they sat, and even baseline inflammatory markers. Grip strength was not riding on the coattails of exercise. It was an independent biological signal, but independent of what exactly, that is where the biology gets genuinely surprising. Grip strength is not a hand measurement. It is a whole body measurement that happens to be expressed in your hand. Here is why. Skeletal muscle is the largest metabolic organ in the human body. When it functions well, it manages blood glucose, dampens systemic inflammation, and produces signaling proteins called myokines that support heart tissue and brain cells. When it starts failing, a condition called sarcopenia, the downstream effects touch every organ simultaneously. The hand muscles and forearm flexors are among the most metabolically active in the body, which is why their force output is such a sensitive early marker of how well the entire system is functioning. Research published in Clinical Interventions in Aging found grip strength to be among the most consistently associated physical measures with cardiovascular outcomes, in some analyses tracking more closely than systolic blood pressure, the number your doctor has been measuring for decades. Your handshake is a whole body status report, and the rate at which it changes tells you something even more specific. Grip strength peaks in your early 30s and then begins a slow, nearly invisible erosion, roughly 1 to 3% per year. For most people, the loss is so gradual across their 40s and 50s that it never registers as a problem. Then, somewhere around 65, two things happen at once. The rate of decline accelerates, and the consequences of being below threshold become abrupt. An Haynes dataset analysis covering 9,583 adults found that those in the bottom 20% of grip strength showed the most pronounced associations with adverse health outcomes in observational follow-up, associations that held independently across age, sex, and activity level. That is not a marginal statistical signal. It is a pattern consistent enough that the European Working Group on Sarcopenia adopted grip thresholds as part of their clinical diagnostic criteria in 2019. And here is what makes it actionable. Grip strength is not fixed by age. Unlike your genetic code, it responds to training. The question is what kind, and the answer is not what most people in their 60s are doing. Here is the finding from the JAMA Network Open study that most headlines missed. Women who were not meeting the standard aerobic exercise guideline of 150 minutes per week still showed meaningfully stronger survival-associated outcomes if their grip strength was high. Inversely, being aerobically active did not fully compensate for low grip strength in the observational data. This is a direct challenge to the conventional message that cardio is the cornerstone of healthy aging. It is not wrong. Cardiovascular fitness matters enormously, but it operates on a different biological channel than muscular strength. Grip strength reflects skeletal muscle quality, myokine output, and neuromuscular efficiency, none of which a walk or a swim adequately stimulates on its own. A 2023 network meta-analysis spanning 42 randomized controlled trials and 3,728 participants found resistance exercise alone improved hand grip strength by a mean of 2.69 kilograms, a measurable, meaningful shift. But the training needs to be progressive and targeted. The specific prescription that research currently supports is more precise than most people realize. The research is now specific enough to give you a real prescription. A 2025 systematic review and Bayesian meta-analysis, published in Frontiers in Physiology, found that resistance training at moderate to high intensity, 65 to 85% of your 1-rep maximum, performed 2 to 3 sessions per week for at least 12 weeks, produced the most consistent grip strength gains in adults over 60 with sarcopenia. The exercises do not require a gym. Farmer carries, wrist curls with light dumbbells, plate pinches, and towel pull-ups all load the specific hand and forearm muscles that grip dynamometry measures. The key variable is progressive overload. You must increase resistance over time, or the neuromuscular adaptation plateaus. One more finding worth noting. A separate Newcastle cohort study, tracking adults over 9 years, found that those whose grip strength increased across the observation period were associated with substantially stronger functional health profiles than those whose baseline grip was high but then declined. Trajectory matters as much as starting point. Which raises one final question. What does your number mean right now? You do not need a clinical dynamometer to get a directional read today. For men over 65, a strong grip registers above 35 kilograms. 27 to 35 is a caution zone. Below 27 is where clinical guidelines say further evaluation is warranted. For women over 65, the equivalent bands are above 20 kilograms for strong, 16 to 20 for caution, and below 16 for clinical concern. If you do not have a dynamometer, your JAR test is a reasonable proxy, but a $30 digital hand dynamometer from any pharmacy or online retailer gives you a precise number you can track across months. Retest every 6 weeks. What you're looking for is not a single snapshot, it's the slope. A rising slope over 12 to 24 weeks of progressive resistance training is one of the clearest signals the research offers, that your biological systems are responding and your functional capacity is building. Your grip is not just strength. It is one of the most accessible, trackable windows into how robustly your body is functioning right now.